World Health Organization declares an Ebola outbreak in Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda a public health emergency of international concern. At least 8 people injured after a man drove a car into a crowd in the northern Italian city of Modena, fleeing a driver stopped by pedestrians, later arrested by police.
We need a proper contest with the best candidates on the field, and I'll be standing.
UK's former Health Minister Wes Streeting says he would challenge Prime Minister Keir Starmer in any leadership contest held days after stepping down, urging Starmer to set a timeline for departure. Prime Minister Narendra Modi underscores need to combine India's speed and skill with Netherlands' expertise to elevate bilateral cooperation across sectors during delegation-level talks with the Dutch Prime Minister Rob Jetten. Tata Electronics and ASML Inc. a deal to build India's first front-end semiconductor fab in Gujarat. The $11 billion Tata plant in Dholera will manufacture chips for automotive, mobile and AI applications, advancing India's semiconductor ambitions. Buddhist monks marched with lanterns through Seoul during a parade held as part of Lotus Lantern Festival celebrations ahead of Buddha's birthday. We begin first up with the latest from West Asia. Israel has launched a massive series of airstrikes on southern Lebanon despite an extension of the truce between the two countries. Now, Israel says that it is targeting Hezbollah, but the strikes were preceded by an evacuation warning covering 9 villages and the continuing bombardment that has only increased skepticism about the truce among the many thousands of Lebanese driven from their homes in the south. Lebanon's state-run national news agency has reported strikes on more than 24 villages, that is on Saturday, which included one more than 50 kilometers from the border area. It also reported a new exodus of residents towards the southern city of Sidon and capital Beirut. Later on Saturday, Hezbollah announced that it had struck a military target in northern Israel after having announced multiple operations against Israeli forces in southern Lebanon. It was on the same day that Israel's military said that one of its soldiers died in combat in southern Lebanon, which brought its losses to 21 personnel since the war with Hezbollah began in early March. Notably, on Friday, the two countries agreed to extend a ceasefire by 45 days. Also, United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres said that he welcomed the extension, having also urged all actors to fully respect the cessation of hostilities. Now, Israel launched deadly airstrikes across Gaza City that left a residential building engulfed in flames. In fact, Israel said that the operation targeted Aziz al-Din al-Haddad, the head of Hamas' armed wing and also a key figure accused of masterminding the October 7 attacks. The airstrikes by the Israeli forces have once again raised fears that the already fragile ceasefire may be soon collapsing. Our next report gets you the details.
Officially, there's a fragile ceasefire in Gaza, but airstrikes continue on the ground. On one side, there's a deal meant to slow the war, but on the other, a strike that pulls it back into motion. Israel carried out an airstrike in Gaza City, targeting Izz al-Din al-Haddad, a senior commander in Hamas's military wing. The operation comes as Israel continues acting against what it calls remaining threats from Hamas, even under a formal ceasefire framework. The Israeli military said the strike targeted one of the most important remaining figures in Hamas's military structure in Gaza. Officials described him as a key commander involved in strategic decision-making and operations against Israel. Israeli authorities accused him of being one of the architects of the October 7, 2023 attack and said he was also involved in holding hostages in the aftermath. They also said he rejected a US-brokered plan calling for the disarmament of Hamas and the demilitarization of Gaza. Hamas confirmed the commander's death, describing him as one of the greatest fighters of the Palestinian people. The strike took place in Gaza City's Al-Rimal neighborhood. A residential building was hit first, followed by a second strike on a vehicle in the same area. Shortly after, the news was confirmed and grief spread through the streets of Gaza. His coffin was carried through neighborhoods still scarred by war damage. People lined the roadside as the procession moved slowly through the city. The death marks the latest in a series of losses for Hamas's military leadership. Al-Haddad had risen to a top command role after the killing of several senior figures, including Yahya Sinwar and other key commanders over the course of the war. The strike comes despite a US-brokered ceasefire that remains in place on paper. Israel has continued to carry out strikes during this period, saying it is targeting Hamas operatives and imminent threats. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, more than 850 people have been killed since the ceasefire began in mid-October. Officials involved in implementing the agreement say it has delivered only relative stability, not a full halt to violence. The larger concern now is that even under a declared ceasefire, the pattern of targeted strikes continues. High-value Hamas commanders are still being hit, civilian areas are still being affected, and the gap between diplomacy and conditions on the ground remains wide. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
With the Strait of Hormuz now at the center of a high-stakes geopolitical standoff, Iran now says that European countries are negotiating with Tehran for permission to move their ships through the key waterway. Now, this comes after China, Japan and even Pakistan reportedly struck their own arrangements with Iran. Since war erupted between Iran, the US and Israel earlier this year, traffic through the strait has been severely disrupted. In fact, Iran has largely blocked shipping through the route, turning the waterway into a powerful tool of strategic leverage. Tehran has now announced a new managed transit mechanism that could see commercial vessels pay fees to cross the strait. Ibrahim Azizi, the head of the Iranian Parliament's National Security Commission, has said that a new professional mechanism to manage traffic through Hormuz will soon be officially unveiled. Commercial vehicles and countries cooperating with Iran will benefit from this system. It also said that the country will charge necessary fees for what it calls specialized services provided to compliant ships. Meanwhile, Iran has rejected what it describes as a US Freedom Project, which is a temporary military operation aimed at escorting stranded commercial ships through the strait. Iranian officials say that the route will remain closed to operators associated with the US-led initiative. While the developments are already raising fresh concerns over energy security, global shipping costs, and the risk of a long-term division in international maritime trade routes. The move also signals a major shift in how the strait could operate after months of conflict. Iran has repeatedly warned that shipping through Hormuz could never return to its pre-war status. In fact, last month, Iran had said that it had already started earning revenue from the tolls imposed on maritime traffic. In news from the UK, where MPs are calling for new emergency kill switch for artificial intelligence. Well, the idea is simple. If AI ever becomes dangerous, the government could shut it down. The plan is part of an amendment to the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill. The proposal would give the Technology Secretary last resort powers to order a shutdown in extreme situations involving AI systems. but the powers are meant for extreme cases. These include threats to national security, critical infrastructure, or situations where AI could cause large-scale harm to human life. Under the proposed bill, companies would also need secure communication channels with the UK's Department of Science, Innovation and Technology so ministers can act quickly during crisis. The amendment is put forward by Labour MP Alex Sobel and support from 11 MPs. This group argues that the government needs clear tools to respond if advanced AI systems ever become unmanageable. The idea of an AI kill switch is also being discussed internationally, with President Donald Trump having expressed support for similar measures in certain situations. As AI systems become more powerful and more embedded in critical systems, lawmakers are now focused on a simple question, and that is how to keep control if something goes wrong. The Central Bureau of Investigation has secured a 10-day custody for PV Kulkarni and Manisha Wagmare in connection with the NEET UG 2026 paper leak case. Now, this comes after it produced both individuals before the Rouse Avenue Court in New Delhi. And this as the CBI has unveiled more details in the conspiracy behind the medical paper leak. According to the agency, PV Kulkarni and Manisha Wagmare are the most critical figures in the entire leak syndicate. The agency told the court that the NEET paper leak originated from them and that it was through their network that the question paper first reached the market several days before the examination. The CBI has revealed that PV Kulkarni was associated with the National Testing Agency's paper setting team and reportedly had access to confidential examination materials. Investigators even alleged that Kulkarni misused this access in collusion with Manisha Wagmare and others to smuggle the question paper out. The agency claims that the paper was leaked as early as 27th of April, well before the examination date. The agency told the court that Wagmare played a pivotal role in circulating the paper and its answers to one of the accused. She was reportedly in contact with other accused individuals and at least one government employee linked to the National Testing Agency. While Kulkarni not only leaked the paper, he also supplied solved questions and papers, the answers to selected candidates in exchange for large sums of money. CBI further told the court that these payments were later deposited into bank accounts and that Kulkarni allegedly destroyed handwritten materials to eliminate evidence, while the leak quickly spread through a chain of intermediaries. After it sent to the intermediaries, the CBI arrested the accused and asserted that the entire operation was driven by financial motives, with money changing hands at multiple levels of the organized syndicate. Reports suggest that the CBI could make more arrests in the coming days as digital forensics, call records and even money trails are being analyzed in greater detail. The agency is also examining how the leak network managed to penetrate the supposedly secure paper setting ecosystem. The lawmakers representing the accused strongly opposed the 14-day remand demand. Kulkarni's counsel argued that he had a legitimate contractual relationship with the NTA for setting papers. Therefore, mere association with paper setting cannot be treated as evidence of wrongdoing. The counsel also said that NTA gets its paper setting done by multiple people, but no one knows which paper or questions will be part of the exams. The court, while granting the custody, observed that the matter is extremely serious and that the investigation is at a critical juncture and a thorough investigation is necessary to reach the roots of the network, identify remaining accused persons and secure further arrests in connection with the case. In news from Singapore then, where the police are warning of a sophisticated new wave of fraud, which comes after a businessman lost nearly $3.8 million in a scam that involved fake government officials, forged documents, and even an AI-generated video conference. The case has raised fresh concerns about how artificial intelligence is making impersonation scams more convincing. The Singapore police force says that scammers are targeting business professionals who have had prior dealings with government officials. The fraudsters allegedly posed as senior figures and invited victims to attend high-level virtual meetings with the Prime Minister, ministers and other officials. In one such case, a man received a WhatsApp message that displayed the profile photo of Cabinet Secretary Wong Hong Kwan. The message claimed that he was required to join an urgent government discussion with Prime Minister Lawrence Wong. Soon after, the victim received an email from a Proton mail account that claimed to belong to the Cabinet Secretary. The scammer requested money that was related to the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, to make it believable, the email carried the Singaporean Prime Minister's signature with the promise of reimbursement within 15 days' time. The victim was also asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement and submit identification documents. After complying to that, he was invited to a Zoom video conference that appeared to include the Prime Minister, senior government figures and international officials. But the police say that the entire video call was fabricated using AI-generated deepfakes. Following the meeting, this man transferred at least $3.8 million through a series of transactions into a corporate bank account. The Singaporean police force says that several similar cases have emerged in last few weeks. 3 individuals have also been arrested and charged for their suspected role in related offences. Singaporean authorities are now urging the public to verify all requests for money, even if they appear to come from high-ranking officials in the country. Not for the first time, it's UK that is leading the way in what has been a grim week for the global bond market. Political drama is back, interest rate expectations are on the rise, but for all the noise, there are limits on how much politics is likely to drive central banks this year. In this next report, we decode the bond market reaction and look ahead to another busy week in markets.
Let's face it, nobody does political drama quite like Britain. In a competitive field of big global stories, a global energy crisis, and a meeting of 2 superpowers, the limelight has still somehow found its way back to London. The ruling Labour Party is in the midst of a leadership struggle. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, though still in office, is under existential pressure after poor local election results. A leadership contest looks increasingly inevitable, and if you believe the betting markets, Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham is the man to beat. All of this is unfolded against the backdrop of a grim week for global bond markets. The UK's 10-year yield rose by more than 0.25 percentage point. The sterling responded by plunging to a 1-month low versus the dollar. But Britain is hardly alone. US 10-year yields are up about 4.5%, back to levels last seen post President Trump's reciprocal tariff announcement in April last year. And that's an important reminder. For all the noise coming out of Westminster, it is still oil prices and the outlook for global central banks that are doing the heavy lifting for interest rates. Of course, politics could matter more from here. There is certainly scope for gilt yields to rise further on domestic drama. But the real question is, will politics really be a central driver of central bank decisions this year? The political centre of gravity is likely to shift left in the UK, but politicians across the spectrum are presumably acutely aware there are limits, with the shadow of the 2022 mini-budget crisis still hanging over Westminster. Still, that is not quite the question facing the Bank of England. The bank needs to judge whether a modest fiscal pivot of this kind would materially boost inflation over a 2-year horizon. That brings us neatly back to energy. When it comes to politics and its relationship with central banks, the far bigger question is whether governments across Europe are forced into much larger support packages than we have seen so far. The fuel tax cuts announced in various countries are small beer compared with the 2 to 3% of GDP packages rolled out in 2022. And that is why central banks across Europe were forced into steep rate hikes 4 years ago. Whether similar pressure builds again this time will depend on where energy prices go next. It's a reminder that for all the political noise, energy prices will remain the dominant force for central banks. Analysts are expecting rate hikes from the BOE and the European Central Bank in June, and bets are for the Fed to join the rate hike party later this year. Business Bureau, WION World is One.
In a landmark cultural restitution gesture, the Netherlands has handed back 11th century Chola-era copper plates to India. Now, this was during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the European nation. This handover by the Netherlands marks the culmination of years of diplomatic efforts and is being seen as a symbol of deepening ties between the two countries. Our next report tells you more. FIFA has officially announced that global superstar Shakira will co-headline the 2026 FIFA World Cup final halftime show. In fact, she will be sharing the stage with Madonna and K-pop sensations BTS. For Shakira, the FIFA stage is familiar territory, yet profoundly personal. Her long-standing association with the tournament spans decades, which is marked by iconic performances at the 2006 and 2014 finals. However, it was her 2010 anthem that forever altered the trajectory of both her career and her private life. Recently, the singer reflected on how the song that became the heartbeat of the South African tournament.
Waka Waka had an enormous impact in my life. I think it's one of my biggest songs of all time, all times. Probably, I don't know, I think it has like 2 billion streams or something like that, or 4, like some crazy number like that. But beyond what it did for my musical career, is what it did for my personal life. It turned me into a mother, because thanks to Waka Waka, I met the father of my kids, so I was able to have those 2 amazing kids.
Well, it was on the set of Waka Waka music video that Shakira famously met Spanish footballer Gerald Piqué. The couple shared a highly publicized relationship that spanned over a decade, resulting in birth of their 2 sons, Miran and Sasha, before their highly scrutinized separation in 2022. Shakira's journey back to the World Cup stage has been marked by both immense professional success and profound universal, that is, personal upheaval.
The greatest moment of my life is receiving my 2 kids into this world. The darkest moments is when I saw, I think, the dissolution of my family, the family that I had dreamt to keep until forever. That was a huge.
Although Shakira hesitated to finish the thought, the sentiment resonated universally as she prepares to step back onto the pitch for the championship match. Shakira isn't just looking back, she's bringing new heat to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Well, before we wrap up this edition of our broadcast, here's a quick look at the images drawing attention from across the world, from conflict zones to powerful protests.
in-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
Teaching a humanoid how to walk in days. Drones evacuating soldiers from the fray. Whales tracked by autonomous submersibles. The Ghost of Molière, AI writing plays. From disarming minds to rescuing soldiers, is there anything we don't want AI to do? All this and more coming up on this episode of Check It Out at these times.
On Wings this week, we feature the Somnath Temple in Gujarat, which marks 75 years since reconstruction. We also try flying over the desert in Ladakh's Nubra Valley.
1, 2, 3. Never leave your right hand.
We also cover festivals from China to the Cannes Film Festival. Only on WION. World is One. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Vielleicht nur